Welcome to Earth Eats. I'm Kate Young. Today we're going to make a cookie that I call a forgotten cookie. I call it a forgotten cookie because that's what my mother called them. This is a bit of a nostalgic recipe for me. This is something that my mother made every Christmas, and I make it most holidays. We're going to start with 1 egg white. Just put that into a mixer. If you don't have a stand mixer, you can use a regular hand mixer, or you could whisk it by hand if you wanted, if you had a lot of time on your hands. See that little peak? That may be even a little bit more than a soft peak, but that is definitely whipped enough. And then we're gonna add sugar just gradually, so a little bit at a time, about a tablespoon at a time. I think that's pretty good. I really hate to leave anything on the whisk, but you know, at some point you just gotta give up. Okay, so we have this mixture of sugar and egg white. We're gonna gently fold in 1/3 cup of nuts. These are finely chopped, and I'm using walnuts. You can also use pecans. 1/3 cup of mini chocolate chips. You could also use a nice dark chocolate and just chop it up finely. This is a lot faster. And then you're gonna wanna fold it in. And so by folding, I mean I'm just kind of going around and then cutting through the middle, because you don't wanna take out all that air that you just spent all that time whipping into it. But on the other hand, you do want it well incorporated. That is pretty good. And then we're just gonna drop a teaspoonful. You could pipe these, but it might be a little tricky with the chocolate and nuts in there. And I think they look just fine, not piped. Kind of a rustic meringue. These cookies really have a strong food memory for me. Something my mom always made around the holidays, and it's become a tradition in our family as well. And the reason that they're called forgotten cookies is because you cook them in a really low oven. So the oven's just going to be at 250. After they've baked for a little while, you just turn off the oven and leave them in there, because basically what you're doing is you're drying out the moisture, and that is what gives them their really interesting texture that is typical of a meringue. They don't do a lot of spreading out, so you can place them on the baking sheet pretty close. What you're going for is for the outside to become really dry and crumbly, and then the inside still has this kind of sticky, gooey, chocolatey inside. And then these will go into a 250-degree oven. They can stay in there for about an hour and 15 minutes. These are really small, so I might check on them a little bit before that, just to make sure that they're not getting over-baked. So we forgot all about our forgotten cookies, but that's okay, because we turned off the oven and I think they're probably ready to come out. So this is what they look like when they come out. Pretty much the same as when they went in, except that they're very dry and firm to the touch. They've got a little, they're not soft at all. The moment of truth with these forgotten cookies is when you break them open. And you can see it's got this nice kind of chewy texture on the inside, but it's light and crunchy on the outside. Yes, that is the memorable texture of the forgotten cookie. Some people call these meringue kisses. I really like to call them forgotten cookies because you leave them in the oven and you forget about them. You definitely want to store these in an airtight container. Humidity will really destroy the texture of these. So once they're cool, get them into an airtight container. And if you're giving them away to anyone, just make sure that you package them up in a way that doesn't allow them to come into contact with the air. If you liked what you saw today, be sure to share it with your friends and subscribe. You can find us at Earth Eats on all the platforms, and you can also find our podcast wherever you get your podcast. We have new podcasts each week. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.